What is a fish? Over 30,000 species of fish live in the oceans, from the tiny anchovy to the mighty whale shark. According to the Chinese feng shui, a fish represents wealth and prosperity. We love to eat fish, but today we are turning gold into quicksilver and richness into illness. Fish can be part of a healthy diet and is an important source of protein for many cultures across the globe. Asian communities especially rely on fish for their protein. Typically, fish are high in protein and low in fat, and many contain the omega-3 oils important for heart health. But fish can also hide a dangerous secret.
My name is Kevin, and I'm a senior at Palo Alto High School. I'm a Chinese American, and fish has been a regular staple of my diet growing up. I learned that a lot of the fish we eat can contain a toxin called methyl-mercury. This invisible poison enters the ocean food chain from natural events like volcanoes, but also from coal-fired plants, mines, and runoff from the land. Each action comes with a reaction, especially in delicate systems such as the ocean. Small amounts of mercury absorbed by tiny plankton magnify into poisonous concentrations up the food chain, from smaller fish up to apex predators such as sharks and tuna. These fish put consumers at the highest risk of adverse health effects. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the Hong Kong Center for Food Safety advises that some fish like shark, tuna, swordfish, and tilefish should be avoided by certain at-risk groups, like young children and pregnant women. I learned that my culture is most at risk from mercury toxicity from a study conducted near my home in San Francisco, Chinatown. The study measured mercury levels 6 times higher in Chinese Americans than that of the general population.
中世纪的欧洲，许多文化中的医师和治疗师们在治疗疾病的过程中都会以不同形式使用到汞，其中包括一种矿物质朱砂。2000多年前，秦始皇成为中国历史上第一位死于食用含有汞化合物药物的皇帝，而这个药物却是他的炼金术士和宫廷御医们为他炮制的长生不老仙丹。几个世纪后，我们知道汞中毒会导致人类一系列的疾病，包括强力的神经毒素、甲基汞症状，如感觉减退、发抖和视力障碍等。
Through my advisor, David McGuire of Shark Stewards, I met my friend Tak in Hong Kong. Together, we decided to conduct a study to measure mercury in fish that is commonly consumed by Chinese and Asian Americans.
My name is Tak. I graduated from UCSD at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, where I studied marine biology. I now live in Hong Kong, where I was born. I joined Kevin in a study to compare the mercury levels of common dried fish that we eat here with those sampled in San Francisco. We spoke with Dr. Amina Shardip. She's an associate professor at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and she specializes in marine biochemistry and chemical oceanography. Dr. Shardup is an expert on the cycling of mercury in our oceans on a macroscopic scale.
The way most of the emissions is through burning of coal. So we burn coal. Coal has high mercury content. So we burn coal to produce energy. So power plants are running on coal. It's the case here in the United States. It's the case in China. So it's related to energy consumption. There's also obviously other sources like waste incineration, because we use mercury in a lot of the electronics and just industrial processes. So if you're burning that stuff, you're going to emit that. So for a lot of fish species, especially as you go higher up in the trophic level, the total mercury is a proxy for methyl-mercury. It's almost 100%. Lower in the trophic level, you may have, a lower percent methyl-mercury. So you may have species that have 70 or 60% methyl-mercury. So phytoplankton, zooplankton, you have to measure methyl-mercury and not total mercury.
Methyl-mercury is bioaccumulated or biomagnified in large fish. So what happens is the small fish eat the plankton, they might get a little bit of this deposited mercury, and then a bigger fish like a herring eats a small fish, and then a bigger fish like the mackerel eats the herring, and then a big tuna or a shark eats the mackerel, and they live longer. And that mercury just doesn't go away. It doesn't excrete. And the methyl mercury levels increase in larger fish and can become toxic to humans through consumption.
We purchased dried fish from the markets in San Francisco and in Hong Kong and sent them to a lab to test for mercury. We did not test large fish such as shark and swordfish known to have high amounts of mercury because we were interested in lower priced fish commonly consumed by the less affluent.
We eat a lot of fish in Hong Kong. At over 145 pounds a person per year, it is among the highest seafood consumption per capita in the world. On average, our blood mercury levels are much higher than Americans, although the health advisory set by the Center for Food Safety in Hong Kong is half the action level of the United States. Studies show that high-end fish, like swordfish and tuna, have levels 10 to 20 times higher than what is considered healthy. In our study, we also discovered that many of the fish, like what we call the noodle fish, are very low in mercury.
Previous studies had demonstrated that large fish have high levels of methyl mercury. However, most of the fish we sampled from San Francisco and Hong Kong were relatively low, with a few exceptions. Given the much higher amount of fish consumed among the Hong Kong Chinese and Chinese American demographic, it is advisable to consume smaller fish lower on the food chain or eat less fish.
The U.S. Food and Drug Agency sets health advisories for mercury exposure from fish consumption. Some species we tested, like eel and herring, had levels close to the advisory level set by the government. Although California has laws requiring warning signs in markets selling fish, we did not see any advisories. People we interviewed on the street also had very little knowledge about the risks of mercury from fish, although most said they ate fish regularly.
I think a big part of being aware of what you're eating is being aware about your own health, right? And we're very, very health conscious right now, or health aware during this pandemic. And clearly we want to eat healthy. We want to boost our immune system. We don't want to get sick. We don't want people we love to get sick and die. And so thinking about what we eat, we need to be aware what we're eating is eating. So that includes antibiotics and farm cows or chickens, but particularly in wild food like seafood like tuna or sharks. I mean, we're fishing them so hard that their health is declining faster than ours, but also by eating them, it could be just one more risk factor for the survival of the human race. So maybe we need to think about tweaking the environment less, because these diseases are crossing from wildlife in a context that is unnatural. So we're seeing a transference from an animal that typically would never be exposed to another animal.
Many kinds of fish consumed by Asians are low in mercury and can have benefits to consumer health.
but eating some fish can put our community at risk. We can avoid mercury toxicity by eating fish that are low in the food chain or reducing intake.
I look at the ocean as the great healer. The ocean it heals me, it heals my soul. When I don't feel well, when I feel sad, I go to the ocean to become healthy. But we also all rely on the ocean for our oxygen. At least 50%, some say 70% of our oxygen comes from the ocean. The oceans connect us. Looking at that Golden Gate Bridge all the way over to where TAC is in Hong Kong, that ocean connects us to other cultures and to other peoples, because we all love to be in it, on it, or around it. We're all fascinated by it. So killing the ocean or hurting the ocean, which is the great healer, is going to not bode well for humanity. And maybe this COVID crisis is a harbinger, it's a warning, and hopefully we will become aware that when we're manipulating nature, it comes back and bites us. And we're seeing this with this pandemic that has killed over 200,000 people globally. Millions of people are suffering, are sick, and really needlessly, because we're eating exotic animals and also not even treating them with any kind of ethical respect. And then they're in these conditions where they're getting diseases and transmitting them. So I hope that we can become awake, we can become a little bit more ocean aware and think about the health of our planet and the health of our race.